Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Richard Lewis Show. Joining me today is Carlos Ocelot Rodriguez, former CEO of G2, although still kind of hanging on to G2, I suppose. We'll talk about that. And someone that has kind of been cast out of the esports industry. A good friend of mine, going back. We've known each other, I think, 2013 we met for the first time, probably about then.
Yeah, probably about the time.
Yeah. So, thanks for being here. And I know you recently tweeted you wanted to do a tell-all interview about your time in esports. But just before we get started, I think it's important to say for the record what I said before we got started, and that is that this will be an interview, but it's also kind of like, for me personally, as someone that knows you and cares about you, it's kind of part intervention as well, in the sense that I think what happened to you when you got thrown out of the esports industry, I think that's a disgrace. I think the way that was handled was terrible. I think it's one of the most shameful things that I've seen the esports mob do to somebody that's contributed positively to the world of esports. But I also will say, I think you've said things and done things since that presents a version of you that isn't real. That's not the Carlos I know. The Carlos I know is someone who has always been kind, like takes everybody at face value, always really generous with their time and very helpful to people that need it. And when I look at your Twitter feed now, and you shouldn't judge people on Twitter feeds, I also know that, I see a version of you that I don't recognize, and it's hard for me because I do genuinely care about you, and I hope that maybe there's a way to bring you back to what I consider the light. I think I understand why you're in a bad place, and we'll talk about that over the show. I think people don't realize what happened to you and how bad it was, but I wanted to just say that before we started. I think it's fair. And obviously, this would never see the light of day if I think you said anything that was compromising or if it got too weird or emotional. I just want you to know that before we start. So we'll start with some generalities. How have you been?
Yeah, very good actually. Many people, when I say this online, many people online, when I say this, maybe they don't want to believe it, but it's the truth. I mean, I've been very, very good, and this whole situation that almost feels like in my head already feels like 20 years ago, really, because so many things have happened to me and with me since then. Just feels like you know how it feels like? It feels like if I was in the desert without water and food for like weeks and somehow I survived it and I came out better out of it. That's how it feels when looking back. So, honestly, very happy. And I always say if I'm happy with the situation I am right now in, if I am satisfied with my progress as human, and if I am satisfied with life in general, then that means that everything up to this point was worth it because I am literally where I want to be right now. So I guess that's a good read, an honest read.
Okay, well, let's let's start because, like I say, we were gonna do this anyway. We were gonna do this around about Christmas, and then Christmas is a fucking
Yeah, I
mess
remember.
for everybody. And then obviously you put your tweet out saying you
I
wanted.
still have I still have Christmas tree because somebody here likes to have a late Christmas year round.
Oh, it's okay, nothing wrong with that. I'm a festive guy, but so it felt like you had something to get off your chest, and we can talk about G2 and everything that happened. But you wanting to do a tell-all interview about your time in esports. So tell me what's your motivation about why you want to talk about that now.
I actually there was nothing in particular I want to get out of my chest. To be honest, it's more so like a reconnection with a part of me that is still there. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, with what happened, I did get to for a portion of time come to dislike the whole industry and everybody in it. And those that spoke against because of they spoke against, those that didn't speak against because they didn't say more in my favor, and those that said more in my favor because they didn't say. I mean, those that said something in my favor because they didn't get more wet in saying more of my favor, knowing how they knew me. So yeah, it's a very. But at the end, it's an understanding that being a hypocrite is almost like a necessity if you are in the entertainment industry. In any job whatsoever in the entertainment industry, you need to be somewhat of a hypocrite, and you need to keep your opinions to yourself, even if the person in this case helped you greatly, or even if you know the truth about their characters or whatever, just because you need to continue grinding and escalating, going up in the hierarchy of that industry. So, um, but eventually, I came to terms with just it's simply not for me, from the point of view of I told you before, actually, before we started, I said I cannot be a politician. I couldn't lead a country. Why? Because I have certain morals and beliefs that I will not sacrifice for the purpose of keeping in good terms with other countries, or for the purpose of having a geopolitical safety, uh, and I think that's okay. Some people are built for one thing, some people are built for the other. So that realization brought me to sort of make peace with the whole thing, and sort of reconnect with the part of me that's still there and will always be there. Because, believe it or not, a vast majority, and I really will say that a vast majority of people that knew me back then and know me still to this day are in favor, or of not in favor, I don't want to say that, but still supporting me. And I owe them every now and then a little bit of an update and to reconnect with them. So that's actually the main reason. There's nothing. I don't have anything to promote or anything like this. I don't have to. I don't need to, and I don't want to.
Mhm.
So it's just in general a catch up.
Well,
And actually, I would never allow myself to do that with somebody that um, just doesn't have, I don't know, credibility, reputation, the respect from the people. And I have always been very vocal that both you and Torin have always been at the top in that.
yeah, look. Obviously, we'll talk about what happened in G2 and kind of how that all came about. Like, it's crazy for me to have kind of witnessed it on the sidelines, especially where we've ended up since. Because while I know, funnily enough, this isn't a view you would hold or necessarily believe in, but we've since entered into a phase of the industry where Saudi Arabia, controls almost everything now. And obviously, we know in Saudi Arabia, they're imprisoning women's rights activists and other such things. And you yourself got framed as a misogynist for being adjacent to another self-described misogynist. And so, kind of seeing you talk about hypocrisy, seeing that hypocrisy afterwards has been very jarring for me, because you kind of realize it isn't an industry based on principles. So before I get into what you're doing now and some of the behaviors I have issues with, let's talk about what happened with G2, because it's one of the most rapid, I don't know what you would call it, cancellations, whatever term you would like to use, but it's one of the most rapid responses I've seen to supposedly abhorrent behavior. And ultimately, I don't even think the initial transgression was that bad. So, first, let's start with the video. Why did you show that video of you being next to the Tates? Like, what's your motivation? What's going through your head when you posted that?
Because there was another, because the girl that took the video, they posted it before and it was getting traction. And one of the things I hate is like elephants in the room. So I hate to be seen as if I'm hiding from something. So basically, I just reposted it myself.
So it wasn't your video initially. Somebody took that of you,
No, no, yeah, correct.
right? And
And at the same time, I didn't see it harmful whatsoever. I thought maybe it would get some uh, impact, uh, but like a funny thing, G2 is always walking the fine line between acceptable and unacceptable, and I was always doing that very well. So I thought that was on that line too. To be honest with you, uh, it's not like I consume other people's videos and content like a maniac and know exactly everything they said whenever. I'm a businessman. I go to places, I do business, I meet people, I meet potential investors, and I party with people because that's just part of how you do business as well. And it's not the first time, and it wasn't the last time, and it will not be the last time I party with them. And so I saw it really harmless, to be honest. I guarantee you, I partied with a lot worse people.
I don't doubt it. And look, I certainly have been in rooms with people during esports, where I would classify those people as awful, like awful people, and sometimes and sometimes you don't. On that note, I mean, you must be aware now of what Andrew Tate has been accused of, and all of his legal issues around that. At the time when you post that video, were you aware of some of his comments, some of his behaviors that he's supposedly engaged in?
I mean, that question is very easy to answer because you say, were you aware of some of his comments? Yeah, I was aware of some of his comments, but not everything. And I guess the right question is, if you would have been aware of all of his comments, would you have still partied? And the answer is yes. But maybe if you ask me if you were aware of all of his comments, would you have still, uh, I guess, reposted the video? I don't know. Maybe the answer is yes because I hate elephants in the room. But maybe I would have hoped. But maybe I would have hoped the woman wouldn't have posted it. So I don't know. I mean, the things happen. I always believe that everything happens for good reason to me, and yeah, I took it as an opportunity maybe to make some noise. Maybe it went the other way, but maybe that's how it was supposed to be.
I think the sad thing in this is, and it's something I've always suspected. I've never asked you about it, but I don't think you see the way it was framed publicly when you posted it. The way people took it was that you were good friends with the Tate brothers and you were spending time with them, and maybe the Tate brothers were going to get involved in esports, which, by the way, based on their comments, would never happen because they think we're all, fat losers or whatever, which, they kind of have a point, I guess. But the way it was framed was you knew these people and you were friends with these people, and you even said in the aftermath, I am friends with these people, and no one will tell me who I can be friends with. But I strongly suspect you don't know the Tates. I've always suspected that you just happened to be in a room with them. You maybe have, like you said, partied with them or talked to them, but I don't think they're like your good buddies, the Tate brothers, right?
I mean, first of all, I said nobody policed my friendships.
Yeah,
That's what I said. I didn't, maybe which implies that they're my friends.
yeah,
I never said they're my
yeah,
friends.
yeah, yeah,
Never.
yeah. Correct.
On the other hand, I did know them. I did spend many other times before with them. I did speak about business. We did speak about esports business actually, because at the end of the day, they are business people, and if they can funnel people into their other business, which is the educational business, they will, even if they are gamers. In fact, many of their students come from video games, so they acknowledge that there's a good marketing funnel for them. And besides that, I mean, they were not my best friends, and they are not my best friends, but they're people that I see whenever I see them. Acquaintances, and I have many acquaintances in my life. However, I wanted to make very clear that there was no way that anybody can have an opinion. Oh, sorry, not an opinion, but anybody can force me not to have X friendships. So I wanted to underline that uh, I wanted to even create that perception that, okay, so if they're my friends, what? I don't care. And I still to this day would have done the same because my freedom. Actually, you know what I learned? Carlos means free man. I didn't know that back then, but I know that now. Carlos means free man, and it really describes me perfectly. Like I cannot ever feel like I'm chained. Impossible. So yeah, that situation made me feel like I was a bit chained, and I had to tell everybody to fuck off, whatever the consequences. And it could have been them, it could have been Obama, it could have been Trump, Putin, and I would have said the same thing, done the same thing. Saddam Hussein. Doesn't matter.
That I understand why you have to present that, but let me just give you a counterpoint here. It's an implied counterpoint with a question, and that is that again, the Carlos I know, having heard what they were accused of, essentially human trafficking is the allegation. And we know from Andrew Tate's own words, he's talked about hitting women. There's rape allegations in there. Now, the Carlos I know would absolutely be disgusted by that behavior if it were true. And obviously, there was intimations about Andrew Tate at that time. He was essentially just a misogynist at that moment in time. And I say just only because of the allegations that came after, which is when we started to learn more and more about the things that he'd done or allegedly had engaged in. And when you heard those allegations, was there a moment where you look back and regret essentially defending your association with him?
The short answer is no. The reason is because I am of the firm belief that um, you are what's the word I'm looking for?
Innocent until proven guilty?
Innocent, yeah, innocent until proven guilty. And there's plenty of cases out there of people that you might think the worst of them because you don't like them. Maybe sportsmen, maybe musicians, whatever it is, that have been accused similarly, and then it ended up going the other way. So I would never ever cast a judgment on someone off of the basis of accusations.
But not,
And
not not even if they themselves are saying they did those things?
well, to be fair, I haven't consumed everything even to this day because uh, it's not my life. It's not what I like to do. But many of the things that I have seen were actually very comedic, and I know they're comedic because to that extent I know them. So and I knew them. So I know to which extent they speak about these things finally, and maybe they are harsh jokes that are very easily understood wrong. Maybe even wrong jokes to make. I don't know, but again, I'm not gonna cast my judgment without the proof in front of me. If somebody, imagine somebody I'm friends with, is proven to be a pedophile, for example, well, that person is dead to me for obvious reasons, right? So I think that's just a normal human decency. But at the same time, I've seen so much bullshit, especially nowadays, where there's a lot of implications, and many times it takes 10 years for a case to be closed. And in the meantime, the man lost everything. So, no, I will never judge. I will never cast a judgment like this.
I think probably one of the reasons why Andrew Tate was essentially this like flashpoint is he's very totemic of something that people they call it like the manosphere or men's rights
Hmm.
activists, where essentially there is a baked in hatred might be a strong word, but I'll use it. A baked-in hatred of women. It's very apparent and tangible from the nature of the content they create and the way that it's framed. And I think that's why so many people, even at that stage, were very reticent about Andrew Tate being adjacent to esports when it's a very inclusive space. And so,
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, and I think a big portion of the criticism that he gets, that I consider justified, is just the wording of many of the thoughts he has. Because um, look, I will, by today's standards, my belief system would be considered greatly sexist, and I will say that out loud. Um, I will decide what happens in my home. I will decide how my woman dresses unilaterally. I will decide, and if she can just disagree. If she disagrees, she can just leave. There's no problem. But if she is with me, that's the rule set. The rule set is that I decide what happens in my home, and by many standards, that would be today considered sexist. Um but it's my rules. It's my rules at home, and whoever is with me accepts those rules and is free to walk anytime. So
Well, can I
there
ask
are
why
there are
that's
many. Wait,
important to
wait.
you? Okay, okay.
There are many ways to get this message across. There are loving ways to get this message across, and there are destructive ways to get this message across. And he is a very militant person in the way he speaks, and very aggressive in the way he speaks. And although he commands the English language, I think quite well, he also intends to be abrasive on purpose, just to as well get the impact, the views. So I do think that gets. Um, Look, if a person that is eternally optimistic listens to his words, and a person that is eternally pessimistic listens to his words, the takeaways are going to be completely different. That's why I believe the job of a of an
Yeah, yeah. All right.
um, orator is to bridge that gap.
Mm.
And it's if you're abrasive, it's going to be very hard to bridge that gap.
What? Why are those rules important to you, though? As somebody that's obviously, I'm an old guy. I've had a
Hmm.
string of good relationships and bad relationships. Um, it's never felt important to me to dictate to a woman anything that would impede their autonomy.
It's a bit complex topic,
Yeah, yeah, I
but
certainly agree.
it leads to everything leads to family health and the lifespan of that relationship, right? For me, there's nothing more beautiful than to build a family and to have many, many, many children with many, many grandchildren, many, many, many grandchildren. And I don't think that can happen when when the family unit is weak. And I think that today's world and system is made so um, many things that are in place right now, including the school system, including the push for women at work, including the entertainment available to everybody on TV, you name it, is aimed in big portion to demolish that family unit. So I will do whatever I can in my hand to make sure that I treat my woman like I would treat my daughter, which is protect her from every single situation and in life that can reduce her innocence even by 0.1%. If she is dressed um, sexy out there and I'm not there, and a bunch of and 3 4 guys are walking around and just whistle at her or say something slick, yeah, then 0.1% of her innocence will die forever and will never come back. So I don't want her to go through that situation, and I will do whatever I can to reduce the chances of that innocence going away.
Mm.
So that's just one of the many examples I can give you,
Sure.
right?
Do you think
Uh,
that infantilizes women a little bit, though?
Look, maybe it does, but maybe we are led to believe that is a bad thing. Why? Because I think that in my experience, the happiest moments when spending time with my mother or when growing up with my parents, which are still together, by the way, to this day. Uh, and the greatest moments, um, with my woman right now, are when they feel very feminine and they feel like there's nothing to worry about and that everything all the pressure is on somebody else's shoulders, and they only get to enjoy what's there to enjoy and keep the home, make the house a home, and create a very good dynamic with the children where they're all educated. And at the end, this is what I believe in because I have seen it in my home, and maybe at the very beginning in my life, um, I took it for granted, but only when I grew really I realized how lucky I was to grow with that kind of family. And I understand it's not every family like this. I understand not every relationship is like this, and I understand not every set of rules in every home is like this. But it's what works for me and what I believe in. So, as I said, it's not a nobody gets forced with shackles to follow that set of rules. And in fact, you get to realize that some of the most kind-hearted people are attracted to that rule set.
Yeah, I don't find what you're saying shocking. It is a view held by a lot of traditional conservative families. I would imagine, if I had a better relationship with my own family, I would say I have no doubt many of my uncles. I have no perspective on my father. I don't really know him, but many of my uncles, I imagine, would hold similar views and operate in a similar way. It just feels to me now a bit reductive and regressive, particularly at a time when we see women. They're finally reaping the benefits of having this inclusivity and having access to spaces that have traditionally been male dominated. And I
Well, I don't know. I don't know if reaping the benefit, if I would call it reaping the benefits, when we look at the aftermath of what's happening. I mean, I think there's a very clear tendency where the families are being broken. I think Spain has like a 90% divorce rate, which is fucking insane. Like one every 10 marriages work out. I think America is like 75%, something ridiculous like this, go end up in divorce. And I mean, the truth is that that is one of the saddest things to happen to a household, specifically because of the upbringing of the kids, as well as all the time spent with this person, which is like creates depth in that relationship. Is all of a sudden broken in perpetuity. I think that this is happening as a result of a lot of these values gone over the years. Things like dressing provocatively when you're married. I think things like um, just the overall behaviors, man, is just fucking insanity. And so I generally believe that reaping the benefits of all these things doesn't mean that they can twerk in public in peace. I think that that is a very very shallow uh, gain for the very deep loss, which is many of these women at 33 years old, after hitting the wall, they're just unable to find peace again. They're unable to build a family again, and they have to rethink what their future looks like by going to Bali and fucking doing yoga, or just becoming CEOs and just going the career route. When in reality, maybe, and I say maybe, that's not what they initially wanted or looked for. Because once you commit the mistake once, and once you divorce once, with you have children already or whatever, that's it. I mean, what are the odds that you will find again that ability to build a family, a pure family? And again, I think very slim, very very slim. So yeah, I don't know if I agree with you, man. I think that there is certainly a point to be made about about women that wanted in the first place to compete in the workplace, to evoke inspiration for them to do so. I think there's a point to be made, but I think that if we speak about probability, I think the probability that a woman in normal conditions, I'm saying not being educated accordingly by the system and by what they watch on TV, to actually want to grow up and become lawyers and spend 14 hours a day solving cases, I don't think it will be as high as it is nowadays, just because by a natural upbringing, I think that would be very unlikely.
Yeah. Um, just to jump back a little bit, right? Because I think it's important to frame what you've just said because it goes to the core of your personality. I might not agree with your beliefs, but we can see that that is indeed what you believe. Okay, so um, just around about the time the G2 stuff started happening and the Andrew Tate scandal, if you want to call it that, happened. Without trying to be too indelicate, you were having some personal problems in your relationship, correct?
I don't speak about these private family matters, just because I saw the I saw the damage that being a public figure can create with your private life. So nobody knows anything about my family life, nor will ever know
Okay.
how many hundreds of children
I respect that, but like,
or grandchildren.
let me let me just offer up something and tell me what you think about it. Um, I think people don't realize what you were going through at that time, and I think some of that pain is what led to some of the destructive behavior, let's say. And I know you don't like to talk about this stuff. I suspect not only because you're a private person, but also I don't think you're someone that would ever show vulnerability publicly. But I know what was happening behind the scenes, and I think if more people knew, they would be a more sympathetic audience.
At the end, I am responsible for everything that happens to me, and I that's how I live my life always, and that's why I failed big and I succeeded big, because I'm at fault and responsible for everything that happens to me, the good and the bad. So yeah, it is what it is. So I will never even speak about it, because it's just I made my bed, and it's my own responsibility, so it's no problem. With that said, um, I think, even looking back, by the way, I don't think that I was ever. I really don't believe it with my heart. I was ever like in a destructive phase or anything like this, like fuck everybody and like fuck it, I'm gonna just go off. And no, maybe I was like wrongly calculated, but I always tried to just be transparently myself as I could. Sometimes you miss the mark. Sometimes you get too excited. Maybe you get some nice feedback from the people, and then you go off on an arrogant, small, short, arrogant phase, and you say something. It just happens, This is human. So I don't think I was ever like distracted by any means. But yeah, there was a lot for that for a period of time. There was a lot of things I had to take care of, and when I mean a lot of things, I mean really, really a lot of things. And of course, it's a matter of bandwidth. Like how much can you take? And some things will have to take a second priority. And meanwhile, you fight the fires here. So yeah, I had a lot of fires to fight for 2 3 months,
Yeah.
maybe 4 months, and I fought them all. And at the end, well, I'm still here. So
Let me let me just. I know you don't want to dwell on this, but let me just say. Let me give it you from my perspective as a friend that was kind of watching what looked like a really, it was effectively an implosion. So I know from just hearing things that you're having just we problems in your personal life. We'll just leave it there. You're someone who you've just said how important family is to you, and I can imagine what was happening to you was deeply painful. Then you are suddenly publicly adjacent to someone who is known to say women are property and other, crazy notions,
yeah, I can see how that how that direct connection,
right?
but yeah, actually nothing to do. It was I don't want to say coincidence, but it's just isn't it wasn't even a chain reaction, because there was no connection whatsoever. Um, that was nothing new that I wasn't doing before or anything like that. And I was dealing with similar people before, so I can see how it sounds or how it looks like it. And of course, it's not the first time I hear that or read that. Many times you see that on Twitter. People have a lot of opinions, and yeah, but no connection.
Okay. Then let's talk about G2 and
Hmm.
irrespective of whether or not you feel what was happening in your personal life was influencing your behavior. I suspect, even on a subconscious level, I think it would be impossible to ignore that. Let's talk about G2 and losing this thing that you built. Uh, I can think I can think of nothing worse that could happen to me now. Like, I've already had, the worst thing that can happen to somebody happen, I believe. But if I lost everything I'd built, if I lost reputation, audience, all my years and years of videos, all my writing, If I just woke up one day and that was all gone, I would be devastated. I don't know how I could continue, actually. So I want to ask you about that. Um, it seemed at first you were going to be able to ride out this storm with an apology, but then it became very apparent people wanted blood, that you had to be fired. Ultimately, you had to be sacrificed to appease this industry-wide fervor that everyone was in. Just talk me through what's happening in that perspective. Did you think it was going to go as far as it did?
Honestly, at first, no. At first, like as the video was posted and blah, I saw people getting angry, maybe more so than usual. I was trending topic in like 29 countries. So that rang a bell. I mean, rang an alert, sorry. But what was a bit surprising is people that I have literally built, people that I have made tens of millions of dollars, people that I have made look very good in front of their bosses, and people that I have helped career wise quite a lot. Um, just straight up, just taking one side unilaterally, or telling me apologize on WhatsApp or calls, whatever. Apologize, otherwise we will be taking legal action and stuff like this. And there's a lot of angles, right? I'm talking about brands, I'm talking about investors, I'm talking about what I would consider back then friends, I'm talking about industry colleagues, and I'm talking about employees. I'm talking about like a full array of parties, different angles, and I'm talking about hundreds of WhatsApp messages an hour. I'm not exaggerating.
Oh no,
People
I'm
that
sure. Yeah.
I had no idea who they are, just messaging me on WhatsApp. I most of these numbers I didn't have them. I had to read it to see who it is. Hey, this is blah blah from blah blah, and I was fucking shocked, to be honest, like really shocked. Then I realized the severity of the situation, and I remember speaking with my parents, and even my parents were like, "Man, just apologize, like just like this is all your life, you know." And I was telling my father, look, it's just not gonna happen. Like I know it might sound insane, but if this is how the cookie crumbles, then this is how the cookie crumbles. That's what I said to him in Spanish. And yeah, I mean, at the end, look, I understand very well how. I mean, even with all this Black Lives Matter stuff, with all this, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's LGBTQ, whether it's voting for Democrat, well, it doesn't matter what initiative it is. They only, and I would say that like these brands and people only support it, except the people that are very strong in their morals. Most of the people only support it because everybody else is supporting in their circle, yeah, and they want to look good by also supporting it themselves, right? And also these brands would not support any of these initiatives if you wouldn't bring them money, which is why you will start seeing now Disney and all these other guys uh, reducing the amount of black gay people in movies just because they see it doesn't sell as much as they thought it did, right? Now when the producers stop investing, and when the producers stop financing those movies because clearly there is no return of investment, then you will see them stop all this nonsense. So I think now it's very clear to me that a lot of these people just had to put pressure in order to keep their brand face intact, you know. And I would understand that from brands. I definitely don't understand it for people. I think that at the end, fame and attention is very fickle, and I think friendship, especially with someone that gave you a lot, like I did to many people, is worth a lot more. But yeah, you asked me how it felt. It felt like shit, but every day in those months, I was sleeping like a baby because I knew I was doing the right thing.
I mean, again, one of the things I've found concerning as a friend is I think it's very easy when you feel beset upon by from all sides. It's very easy to go on the internet and engage with culture war bullshit, culture war shit, just garbage. It's just slop. It's just there to enrage and inflame passions, and it doesn't actually solve anything that's substantive. I've done it myself. I've used nomenclature like SJW and things like this in the past. What I've come to realize is ultimately it's designed to draw you in because it gives you kind of a permanent purpose. And I think this is why it sucks in so many broken people. Like, when you don't have other things going on, you are drawn to the culture war because it will always be there. There will always be fundamental differences in any free society. There will always be belief systems that clash and rub up against each other, and they're very, they don't elegantly slot in. We all have different beliefs about which one is better, which one is superior to the other. And this kind of premise is what the culture war is. It's telling you when you go on the internet that you are actually the real minority, and this is the dominant belief system, and both sides do this, and they do it perfectly. They do it in a way that really does rile people up. And in the same way, I might laugh at somebody that is, dyed blue hair screeching in public about, how they're gonna get rounded up and put in camps or whatever nonsense. I'm also gonna laugh similarly at the conservative that believes as soon as they go into a bathroom, a trans person is going to sexually assault them. It's the same hysteria through the same lens. And so I think, or rather, do you think there's a chance that because so many bad things were happening to you at once, is there a chance that maybe you lost some perspective and started engaging with material that ultimately replaced some of the things that you previously had to hold your attention?
Yeah, yeah, very possible. I think they're very possible. Um, at the end, it is very obvious that all these cultural wars are there for the purpose of keeping the elite in power. And I think that is very obvious right now to anybody that's paying attention, whether you're left or right. I mean, I don't vote, and I will not vote. I refuse to vote because I believe that anybody you are allowed to vote has been placed there by those in power. So at the end, I do believe that all geopolitics right now, and I would like to say I'm not perfectly educated on everything, but I am decently educated on this topic just because of the nature of um, my day to day and how the people I deal with, my network, and the things we speak about. I've come to become quite educated in this, and I believe that it's very clear that everything happening right now, specifically the initiatives we spoke about before, this is all for the sole purpose of keeping people fighting against each other. Meanwhile, ultimately, they continue printing money, and your money is worth less and less, and you're forced to work more and more. And at the end, it's just a snowball effect of power dynamics that the ones at the bottom are more and more every day, percentile wise, and have less and less power percentile wise. And yeah, this is we are in agreement. And I think that what you say has a point, very good point. And yeah, I would say being guilty of that myself. Maybe even sometimes I am.
Look, um, the issue I have, like, look, there's a number of people, by the way, that have gone the same route in my life, my friends. Um, they call it radicalization in the online culture war world. I don't consider it radicalization. I consider it almost like a form of brain rot or a social contagion that ultimately, when you
It's
surround,
just circle jerk, bro. It's just circle
yeah,
jerk.
yeah, exactly. Everybody wants
When
to
you
be
go on
part of the
Reddit
dominant group.
or when you go on Twitter and what you do, you follow certain people
Hmm.
and you don't follow the other certain people. So then you get a echo chamber, and it's then you think everybody has those ideals when in reality half the population of the Earth probably has the opposite ideals. And yeah, it's just the byproduct of social media, unfortunately. Even when before social media, how many times you had friendships, or your parents had friendships with people that were politically in the other side of the spectrum, but it wasn't, first of all, a big catastrophic difference, because back then left and right had a lot of topics that they could meet in the middle.
Yeah.
But now everything is so radicalized, and I do think that that is the correct word for this.
Okay.
That I do think that social media makes every group work in silos, and it's like this by design, because if you are exposed to the other side, like for example, when I'm in Reddit, like I muted politics, I muted most of the shit. Why? Because it's just communist bullshit, and I don't want to read that. I don't want to have that in my life, right? And that just creates that further develops that snowball effect, where you're just more and more exposed to your ideals and less exposed to the opposing ideals. It's just the nature of social media.
Well,
No fix.
y-
There's no fix.
okay, but just to push back a little bit on what you're saying, there's a lot of now, now that you're in a post esports world, there's a lot of political content on your timeline. I mean, and some of it is, some of the stuff you've posted. I would say it comes from the same type of accounts that are designed to do the thing you're talking about. Like, so I don't want to pick.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
very very possible. And I said, as I said, we're all guilty of this to an extent. Yeah. Um, but at the same time, I do have a belief system, and I do believe I have a responsibility to educate my children and educate those that want to follow or be educated or want to listen to me in what I believe is the right moral compass. Now, I don't have the absolute truth, but those that follow me and those that want to follow me, then they will get exposed to what I believe is true. And yeah, sometimes some of these accounts, yes, sure. I mean, again, I don't follow many times. It's not the first time that I hear that something I retweet or something is from an account that is XYZ. I don't follow things that much. I just go into the timeline. I see something I like, or maybe it's funny, boom, retweet, and I laugh. Maybe I quote retweet something. It's not that deep in my mind, right? I understand that the byproduct of me retweeting it, maybe it is deeper than I want to make it, but for me, it's not that deep.
Um. Okay. So, just while we're here, because I do want to get back to the G2 stuff.
Hmm.
You've you've tweeted things that I think people would interpret as racist. I've seen tweets, and you've done a lot of deleting, which I don't know if it is self-reflection or just a cleanse of the time. I don't claim to know what's going through your mind.
Most of the time is like, why the fuck do I get myself in such a nonsense battle for no reason?
Well,
That's the reason.
okay, well, why would you feel compelled to tweet something that has, and this is the most generous way I could put it, but would have racial or racist overtones? Why would you need to do that? I think I know you pretty
Like, I
well.
mean,
I don't
I
think
would
you're a
have to.
racist.
Okay, I would say, by today's standards of what that means, maybe I would say I am.
Well,
So I don't know.
what,
Um,
what do you mean by that? Let's explore that.
yeah, I generalized because I've lived enough and I traveled enough to generalize cultures. And fortunately or unfortunately, uh, I only create these generalizations based on uh, several cases of experience. So yeah, I mean, your life makes up your worldview, right?
Sure, but when you okay, I've had negative interactions with people of all races, creeds, cultures, right? That's the nature
Hmm.
of being a
Yeah,
person.
but there is always a percentage here and there
Well,
that
okay, well, as a British person, the percentage for me would be overwhelmingly white.
what do you mean?
Well, okay, I would imagine even someone as well traveled as you would have interacted with more people from your home country than around the world. Yes.
Probably not. Actually, at this point, probably the
Well,
percentage
okay,
would
let's
be.
let's imagine you were a normal person and not a jet set superstar, right? Let's.
Yeah, then probably you would,
But
yeah, you would interact a
but
lot more with your people.
what exactly? What bigots have a tendency to do is they see patterns because they're blinkered and blind to when they experience negative behaviors from their dominant group. Um, they don't register it. They don't. But when they, if they,
Yeah, I can see that. I believe that.
yeah, and we've had this happen quite recently in Britain, where it's the Muslim grooming gangs has been in the news, and it enraged again. People leverage social media to enrage sensibilities to go and attack Muslims that had nothing to do with any of this. And in fact, obviously, in Britain, the overwhelming offenders of sexual assaults against girls are white men. So what I'm saying is, when you say to me something like, I've lived a life and I've traveled the world and I see patterns, what worries me is, I I think the Carlos I knew would never judge anyone based on something as superficial as race or gender or sexuality. The Carlos I knew would talk to anybody all the time.
No, but okay. One thing you can say that I still consider myself is I'm very empathetic, right? Specifically, if I meet somebody in person, doesn't matter uh, what kind of group you want to put them in or they put themselves in. I will always judge them uh, by the person I see in front of me and by the things they do to me, by the things I see with my eyes they do to others, how they interact with others, which is the same reason, by the way, why I was partying with who I was partying, because I judge them by what I see, not by what I hear. And at the same time, I can't help but make generalizations, right? So let's imagine I'm gonna create a theoretical scenario. I'm not gonna speak about G2 because that will be illegal. But I'm gonna create a scenario where I am the CEO of a company, and I will be interviewing somebody, and this somebody has a special colored hair, and this somebody is speaking profusely about how um, veganism and Black Lives Matter is at the forefront of their life, and very little about the body of work required, very little about their skill set, very little about the attitude I require for that position. I already, in my head, see all the fucking problems that are going to arise. Right? Again, I'm not speaking about G2. I never did that in G2. Okay, I'm speaking about a theoretical scenario where I will be the CEO of another company that is not G2, and maybe I will be doing that. I will be judging profusely in my head. Okay, this is gonna be fucking problems. What happens when I don't change my logo in Twitter to the black fist or whatever the fuck? Do I have problems then? Do I have HR being called out? And unfortunately, you have to be like this if you want to succeed in the workplace. If you're not like this, you're gonna very quickly realize that you're hiring poison that will eventually kill the company from inside out. Now, I do the same for day to day in life. Um, I have come to realize what happens when you do business with a certain group. That very often, even if friendships are on the line, are able to sell you just for a little bit extra profit. And then you see that over and over and over and over again. And you see that in many examples, and you see that over 2,000 years plus, that being the case. Well, maybe you start making generalizations and assumptions about what that group is there for. So, yeah, you can say um, I generalize in every context, not just.
Sure, but what you're talking about there is belief systems. That's what I'm talking about. That like, yeah, you're talking about somebody that might be a little bit, how should we say, forward facing with their political viewpoints. Which, by the way, that might be wholly inappropriate for a workplace anyway, irrespective of the views. But you're talking about stereotyping people based on race. Uh,
Yeah, there's nothing dissimilar from that. Again,
well,
your world experience makes up your worldview, and at the same time your belief system. So you can argue that if I was born in Spain in a small neighborhood and I never moved away from that small neighborhood, this wouldn't be the Carlos you speak with.
Mm.
It would be a very different Carlos, right? And that's just because my set of things I grew up with make me a certain way. So I think that's very similar for every single culture. And similarly, if a whole country grows up reading the Quran, of course, not everybody is as God fearing as everybody else, but there is a tendency that that country, that religion in particular, that reads the Quran and the culture itself has followed the Quran for many years, there's going to be a tendency that that culture has um, a certain kind of society and certain kind of people. The same goes for Hindus. The same goes for Catholics. The same goes for Jewish, right? And it's just the way that how cultures operate. It's all a byproduct of mostly the holy books and how they're interpreted, which makes it for a pretty good understanding of how the culture behaves with each other, how important is the family values, how important is X, Y, Z. So I don't think it's wrong to generalize. I think it's very, I mean, as long as you're honest about it and you don't have preconceived negative notions that shouldn't be there, I think it's very correct to generalize. And actually, that's how we survived through millennia as humans, generalizing. If you don't generalize, you don't survive.
Let's get back to G2. Let's talk about the friends that essentially betrayed you. I don't know how much you can talk about this. I would assume you're free to say whatever you want now. Um, it's my understanding that there were a number of people in G2 that used the situation that was happening with you ultimately to their own advantage. That they didn't really care that you'd been pictured with the Tates. They didn't really care about what it was
Oh
doing
yeah,
to the brand.
it could have been anything.
It was
Yeah,
a
it could have
power
been
grab, yeah.
anything. Yeah, 100% a power grab.
Okay.
It could have been anything, and yeah, shocking, but back then, but not right now. It's all about understanding the nature of people, and I didn't understand their nature. It's simple. So it's again, it's my mistake, not theirs. But yeah, at the end, yeah, a lot of backstabbings, and a lot of you realize that when you're put against the wall, you see the truth in people actually. And at the end, look, time has been great to me. I haven't even sold 0.1% of the company. I still own the same amount of shares I owned back then. I'm still the largest shareholder in the company. My votes count more than anybody else's votes. So yeah, I mean, let's be honest as well. I could have remained as the CEO if I was ready to finance the losses, which I wasn't ready to finance the losses. I'd much rather buy Ferraris, to be fair with you. And yeah, I mean, at the end, I took a conscious decision of course, I was forced out because there's a lot of revenue loss attached to me staying, but I could have stayed and actually physically could have stayed and finance it until I can get a solution to this. But I thought it was a good opportunity to actually move on, which I tried. I think I told this to Thorin, by the way, at some point. I tried for 2 years, this privately. I don't know if this is the first time I say it, but I tried for 2 years before this happened to find another CEO. Um, I mean, in fact, I tried to make my previous COO the CEO, but all the shareholders were fighting against. And the reason I got Alban is because I saw a CEO in him, actually, um, a future CEO in him. So I was actually looking to go away from the CEO position and maybe become chairman or something like this, just a lot less hands-on. So this was an opportunity to take that decision finally. But yeah, the worst part is how you're for 17 years building or 18 years building relationships. No, 17 years building relationships with people and really helping them. I mean, I'm not a saint, but I did change a lot of lives in the world of esports, and I did change a lot of the industry in a good way. Specifically, by the way, with women's esports, people I don't know if they want to fucking talk about it, but if there is a proponent of women's esports, probably I'm number one in the list with a huge margin over the second. I'm talking about fucking loss and loss and loss and loss of millions of euros that nobody else took the loss on. Everybody else jumped into the women's train when the women's were like revenue neutral, like the P&L looked break even at least. Then they get the woman on board. I was the fucking retard that was getting woman when it was losing money. Okay, so people don't know that, and I don't care, to be honest.
Do you regret that?
No, not at all. Why? Because I was seeing the. I mean, again, I'm not an angel. I didn't do this for the goodness of woman. No, I did it because I saw an opportunity business-wise in the future, and I'm a trailblazer, and I will always come up with the next shit. I will always come up with with the future. That's what made me the best. And even if I would return today, I would still be the number one in this job for sure, because I see things ahead of time, and they do end up happening. So yeah, that's I was definitely, like I said, shocked
Mm.
when all of this happened, to see the people turn their backs on me like this, which only accentuated the importance of real friendships and increasing the standards by which I open to people.
Mm. Do you think there was a number of people that had had problems with you personally, and they identified this as an opportunity to kind of get some revenge?
Oh yeah, there was man. This industry, and you probably, I mean, you know this as well a lot. It's just jealousy upon jealousy upon jealousy, and you imagine all these fucking team owners
Mm. Yeah,
out there.
yeah.
Like I was in so many of these ESL groups or Riot groups or whatever the game is. I was always in there, and these people were just fucking wasting everybody's time, and I was just there to really grow the business, yeah, and I was there to think big about the whole situation. So they fucking hated it, and they also hated that even though they were poaching all of my players in all of the games, me with less effort, I was getting all of their players sometimes for free. They fucking hate that, you know, because I'm better at their job than themselves. So the moment they could jump on the situation and be like, "Hey, I told you so," they will just do it, you know. But this is just weak people. At the end, many of these people, by the way, it's very funny. It's very very funny. Somebody gave me a message on Twitter DMs a few weeks ago, no, a couple of months ago maybe, and just went through a rundown of the people that said shit when all of this happened with me, bro. All of those people, okay, not all, most of those people, even a single tweet that said like sigh when this happened with me, you know, and most of those people are nowhere to be seen, which is fucking shocking. I'm talking about nowhere to be seen. Like one of them is working in Web3 nonsense, the other one, all of them are eating their own shit, you know. And it's like it's fucking hilarious because I don't know what if you believe in God or not. Call it God, call it karma, call it whatever the fuck. But these things always, 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 on a long enough time frame, these things always bite you back. You know, the what's the word I'm looking? It's like a German word. When you
Schadenfreude.
feel, yeah, Schadenfreude. Yeah, the Schadenfreude is the worst thing in the world. You know,
Mm.
and there was a lot of that when, when this situation happened. You said before about how I'm getting more and more comfortable. Hold on. You said before about how when this happened, shortly after, you see Riot Games going with Saudi and stuff. I mean, by the way, I have good friends in Saudi even to this day, very good friends. Uh, and the royalty of Saudi, great friends of mine. I like that place, and but it's funny to it's funny to me how the things that they were angry with me for are things that Saudi has historically not been necessarily against, because, as I said, and I continue saying, I believe in those things and I think they're correct for the earth and for society at large, and so does Saudi. And now, okay, now because money is involved, it's acceptable. You know what I mean? So it just goes to show that money and power is what matters the most pertaining when you see companies and high profile people having opinions about specific topics play a big role, big role. So yeah, I guess we live now in a world where anytime you might see Carlos back because it's you know, now it's acceptable.
Well, let's talk about. You said you didn't want to sell, even though you could have sold and walked away from the company. Why didn't you?
No. Sold. No, I didn't say that. Sorry. Let me just make sure it's accurate.
Okay.
I said that I was basically the problem is if I stay, we will lose some sponsors, and if I would finance, I mean nobody told me this, but this is how my CEO and owner brain works. I think about these things, right? I could stay, right? Nobody can. nobody can kick me out. Basically, the shareholders cannot unilaterally kick me out because I have super voting right. Whatever you name it, right? Legally, they cannot kick me out. And and me, I'm thinking to myself, if I want to stay by myself, if I want to unilaterally decide to stay, how could I go around doing this? And the answer was by financing myself, and maybe whoever shareholders want to chip in the money that we would lose with the sponsors that leave, right? And I decided against it. That is what I said.
Yeah.
Nothing about selling, but I didn't sell a single share,
Yeah.
even to this day.
So what my question is, why didn't you?
I sold enough. I have enough. I'm doing well, man. I don't. At the end, I'm thinking like 10 years from now, or 5 years from now, we're talking about this is a $1 billion+ business.
Mm.
And if I can take 300 million from selling my shares, why wouldn't I wait?
Well, I mean, another another way of looking at it would be, why not just take the money now and be done with an industry that, I mean,
No,
we both
I
think esports is ridiculous.
no,
So
I think no, I still have a huge belief in the industry,
okay,
and also being still the owner of G2 continues to open doors that are very hard to open with a little bit of money. Like I can open any door about any royalty or anything. I mean, I can meet with anybody I want just off of the back of me owning G2, being the founder and the biggest owner. So it's just business wise, it makes sense. I don't need the money, and so far I haven't had the need to sell shares, and for as long as I don't need to sell shares, I won't.
okay. And you said there, you alluded to, you might want to come back to esports one day. I mean,
Nah, it's a joke. I mean, the
you
truth
don't think you
is,
would?
sometimes I fantasize with the idea.
Mm.
It's true. It comes to my mind because I really say with the hand in my heart, I'm the best at this, uh, and I know that you could see the impact within 3 months. Like I'm talking about real impact within 3 months. But at the same time, I ask myself. I mean, I like my day to day, man. I like what I'm doing nowadays. I like the businesses I'm doing. I like the people I'm dealing with, and I like how my days look like. I love Dubai. I love my life very much so, man. So why would I change that? Really, I have a lot of time also for myself. I mean, let's be honest. When I was in G2, I was really working 90 to 100 hours per week. Now I'm working 5 hours per day, and I'm really satisfied and fulfilled. I have a lot more time for myself to do a lot of sports, and I'm at the gym all the time. I'm boxing all the time. I'm playing paddle all the time. I'm reading books every day. I have a lot of time to meditate. I have a lot of time to pray, to spend time with my woman, go out, cinema, theater, enjoy life, and at the same time do things that fulfill my heart in terms of career growth. So also different things, right? So honestly, I fantasize with the idea, and I imagine like a big event and like amazing, like spending a lot of money on the event and bringing like 20,000 people there and making a huge, like showing two insane signings in the two top games, something ridiculous, And then all of a sudden, Carlos is back. I know it would be amazing, but it's not impossible actually. Also because I have access to the network that can bring that kind of money and scalability and ambition as possibility. But at the same time, it's a pipe dream. Not because it's not doable; it's very much doable, but because I just like my life too much, man. But if that changes in the future, then who knows? But I'm very spontaneous.
Let's talk about the other thing that you moved into when you had the G2 incident, and that is that you created something called the Circle, which
Hmm.
seemed to me to be essentially copying the Andrew Tate University, which obviously kind of,
The model, yeah,
yeah, it all came out that there was a
yes.
bunch of nonsense going on over there. Um, I wanted to ask why you did that, because I find those types of businesses, I find them predatory, and I think they essentially, one of the things that I always find kind of absurd about people that support Andrew Tate is Andrew Tate actually preyed on weak and vulnerable men by using the allure of women to essentially exploit them for financial gain. And
Because it's a lot. It's a lot. Like the question is a lot. Let me remember.
sorry,
Um,
yeah, I'm loading it with my own viewpoints here. So
okay, okay, okay,
I'll
okay.
just ask the
Then I will.
question simply: why would you create a business like that at that moment in time?
Okay, this, again, is a big question, and I have to memorize a lot of the things you said too, so I can reference them. But I look at how I invest my time as my hobby time to understand the things that I really like to do. Right? There's the hobby part of, like, playing paddle, or whatever, watching movies, whatever it is. And then there is the point where I see myself literally spending many, many, many hours a week actually mentoring people for free. Again, I have people that are very dear to me. Some of them 15-year-olds, guys that really want to make it big in whatever industry. Some of them want to make it big in esports. Some of them want to be business people and they don't know how. Some of them are living in Africa with not a lot of income, and you understand. And these people, I have them in my WhatsApp, and I'm speaking to them and giving them guidance on how to actually build their businesses. And they have all kinds of questions, and I give them all kinds of answers, not just generic, like a guru would say or do, but also like, no, you go here to cop card, or you go here to close IO, and you create blah blah blah, like your very very specific things, and teach them how to actually build make money actually. And they don't have to pay me anything. I do this out of my heart. And finally, when I consider myself that I made enough money so that I don't have to, I have to, I can let my guard down a bit in terms of how I monetize my time. Because until you make some money, I do believe you need your guard up to make sure you monetize every single second. Maybe not directly, but at least you're getting something as exchange that you can eventually monetize. But when I felt like I could let my guard down in this regard, then I just saw myself doing this a lot. So that's the main reason why I started toying with the idea of teaching people as a business. And again, I tell you I do it for free, but the truth is that the reason why charging for something like this is positive is because then you can think about making it a large enough business, which consequently can multiply the impact you make in the world, right? So again, I'm not a saint. Everybody wants to make money. I'm no different. But if my brain has in the last 3 years shifted a little bit more into doing things I'm inspired to do, and things that will have a long tail in the impact in the world versus just money, right? Because if I would just do money, I would have milked my position as esports fucking uh, boss for a long time. I didn't. I didn't say yes to anything. I really didn't fucking touch 99.99% of the opportunities that would have paid me greatly. And instead, I went for something that was closer to my heart. Now I understand this are very synonymous businesses. Matcha. That's my cat is trying to eat things.
Yes, sorry,
Uh,
don't worry.
um, what was I saying? Yeah, I said that I can understand why it's very close and similar to what they did with the university.
Hmm.
But it just happens to be education. At the end of the day, the I tried to be as different as I could be, and at the end of the day, this was my entry point into the educational or alternative education industry, which is what I really enjoy doing, even in my free time for no money. Right now, I don't know if I agree with you on it being always predatory. I think that there's a lot of predatory behavior there. To be honest, a lot of it. And I do think that, yeah, there's a lot of examples out there. Again, I don't know if Tate is the best example, but I certainly think there are examples of people, that men specifically, that are using success with women or whatever to promote it. Um, I think that if the quality of the teachings are good enough, I think it can be justified, because it's almost like the carrot. You give them the carrot so that they sort of get the taste of honey in their lips, and then maybe they become something greater as a result of that. And I do think that many of the already existing universities or courses that exist, and I spend a great deal of time studying them, and me myself experiencing them and using them. Actually, I think that they teach you pretty fucking good things. I'm talking about skills that are not too difficult, and that without the need of paying $50,000 for a career path for a university, right? You can start monetizing your new age skills about creativity and about video editing or whatever it is. I think it's quite good. And of course, if it comes under the mask of or beneath the mask of somebody you don't like, it's very easy to see it as a negative. But when you go deep, and by the way, they will be my competitors, right? So I don't know why would I speak highly about that, but I would say that it's I think most of these alternative education courses are a pretty good source of inspiration for many people that end up making good money, whether it's with e-commerce, whether it's with sales, whether it's with editing videos and putting them on TikTok and monetizing them. It's a whole industry that people don't even know exist, where you can directly monetize performance marketing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that these courses in general are very, very, very good to understand basic money making skills. So I don't know if I. By the way, my eye is fucked up because I heard it. I heard it with the boxing. I can't even like see properly. So that's why if you think that this one is a little bit, it's like a lazy eye.
No, no, no,
That's the reason.
no, no.
Okay.
Don't worry.
That's the I tell the people because
I,
the comments.
I,
I'm sure the comments are cunts. Okay. It's from boxing people. Okay. I fucked my eye up. It's healing.
um, let's uh, let's just one more thing just about the circle.
Oh yeah, sorry
Yeah,
about this. Sorry, brother. Sorry.
no,
Yeah,
go on.
and the circle also. So basically, for now years, I've been creating like a network of the people I know and people that know me, and that we respect each other. And for what? For specific needs. Like, what could it be? Like we are somewhere in Nice, in the south of France, and we need to rent a car. How do we get a good rate on a certain car so that we can be there for 4 or 5 days with family, family and whatever, And these are like um, high quality points of contact that are sort of gathered in a single place, and we always call that the circle. So the circle existed for years actually before, but then we decided to make sort of the circle like the entry point for my learning into education and alternative education. Yeah.
I, the thing I sort of observed about the way it was marketed was it definitely felt like you were essentially giving people a prescription in how to be a better man. It felt that was very much the focus, that ultimately it wasn't just
Yeah,
about
yeah.
making money. It was
I, I,
about
I don't think, yeah, you're correct. I don't think that was good marketing,
okay.
because even I mean, you have to market things how the product looks, right,
Mm.
and feels. And I think that was a bit, it was not correct. Uh, it was still my responsibility because I agreed on it. But yeah, ultimately, if I would go back, I would do it differently, to be honest. But yeah, I think that the teachings have to be in sync with the marketing. That's more because I mean, to be honest, the teachings were fucking good. I mean, I spent a great deal of time on this, and we have examples of people that in just 3 months they were making $8,000. I mean, one specific guy, $8,000 a month, and the guy had 16. No, now he's 18 years old, and he had nothing. And the guy continues doing this, and now he works with somebody else, and is a referral of. I mean, it's just it's a lot of success examples that make me happy, and still to this day I'm in touch with them in WhatsApp. So I know that some good we did, but yeah, at the end, bro, marketing is everything, and the perception of a product, it really is everything. So I agree with you. It should have been more in sync with the teachings.
Do you do you think there is more to life than accruing money? I'm very conflict.
Of course.
Yeah, because you talk a lot about family and values, faith. Yet a lot of your points come back to the accruement of profit.
Really,
Yeah, I think so.
if that's the case, is maybe by the nature of the conversation, but not at all what I believe. I mean, I think that I mean, this is what I believe. I believe that in your life, and I'm talking from my point of view, in my life, yeah, my life, I think that career growth and career path is very important because I want to feel useful for humanity. That's the truth. And I think every man wants to be useful for humanity to an extent. I think this is the main reason why when men retire, they die soon after. And it's because, especially men, more so than women, attribute a lot of their worth to their work, actually. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. But I do believe that. Then, of course, relationships, meaning platonic relationships with your friends, and of course your love life and building a family is capital for a um, happy life, really. And ultimately, self development, both, well, not both, but in three aspects. One is physical, one is in terms of your the control over your mind and emotions, and the last one, not less important, is spiritual. Whatever you believe God to be, and whatever you believe the all to be, finding ways to connect with it. I think that if all these things I mentioned, one, the career, two, the relationships, divided into platonic and family, I guess you can say life, yeah, yeah, building family, and number three, self development on the three verticals I said. If one of them is not taken care of, I don't think you will be a completely fulfilled person. And what does money? Where does money fall here? Money is a very small portion of career success, because you can be an incredibly successful doctor that you just know that every single patient that comes to you leaves with a bigger willingness to live, and is hopeful for what the future holds for their health, and they have a set of, a schedule of the things they need to work on and better diet and whatever. And maybe that guy is getting paid like 25K a year or 40K a year, whatever. But in my eyes, there's a lot of verticals in that career path that are very successful, right? But yeah, money is one of the things that I consider important. Why? Because specifically for me, I need to be free, like I said before, right? And freedom doesn't just imply to say whatever you want whenever you want, but also to do whatever you want whenever you want, right? And unfortunately, the currency of this earth, and I say unfortunately because I don't believe it's nice, but it's just the cards we're given, is just the money. And as opposed to the value generated, which was what it used to be in the past, right now, you can get money without really generating value, right?
Hmm.
In fact, you can get value. I mean, you can get money for destroying the world. In fact, in many ways,
Many people do, yeah.
uh, yeah. But yeah, I believe that money is important if you wanna fucking. I love cars. I grew up with watching Formula One with my father. We watched also MotoGP. We watched rally car. We watched motocross, and I've been driving since I make money, right? Yeah, I love driving nice cars. It's just, but can I live without them? Of course I can. But the freedom of being able to just go to a circuit and do 40 laps in my own car with my own mechanics that change my own tires, that can only be done with money. So it's just simply more access to more freedom, and at the end also safety, right? For your family, if there is a problem you have to solve. I mean, I don't want to really get into this, but I'm very much into this biohacking stuff.
Okay.
And I think this is, I think when somebody makes money nowadays is what they get into,
Yes. Yeah.
biohacking.
Yeah.
But it's true, bro. I mean, believe it or not, it really is true. I mean, it turns out that nature can heal everything, and it turns out that natural things are less available many times than the poison and chemical shit they force down your throat to quote unquote heal you.
Well, listen, I'll come visit you in the hospital when you're having like a raw meat diet or whatever it is. I'll go.
No, no, no. I'm not crazy
No,
like
I'm
that.
just
I
fucking
just
with
eat.
you.
I eat very healthy, but bro, you'd be surprised, bro. The amount of, and again, I will not say this because you have a YouTube channel and stuff, but
I know.
the amount of diseases that are quote unquote incurable, that are indeed curable with natural thing, and actually reliably curable with natural remedies, is just so brutal that is unbelievable the first time you hear it.
Mm. I mean, look. before we stray too far off the path, I want to
Yeah, yeah,
bring
yeah.
us back
You know
to
how you know me.
I want to bring us back to esports, and I want to ask you. I mean, obviously, the perception is you lost G2. I've used that term. I think certainly what I would say is it feels like the drama that happened at the end. It's what it's robbed you of is a legacy in esports that people can conceivably talk about, because for me you should be one of the all-time like legend tournament operators. You went from being a hugely popular player in League of Legends. You created an organization. You took that organization from being a bedroom organization, essentially leveled it up to being a functioning business, then acquired enough investment and money and partnerships to make it one of the biggest esports organizations in the world, and one that had its own brand identity that almost every other organization in the space copied. That's a hell of an achievement. And yet, when I say, oh, remember Ocelot? They go, oh, yeah, didn't he do that Andrew Tate thing? And I think that's really, really sad. It makes me sad. It actually does, because I think about what you built and how important it was for esports, and all people want to talk about is a fucking Twitter video. How does that make you feel?
um, I've come to accept it and understand that, first of all, past achievements, and I never, by the way, I never rated past achievements very high anyway. I don't even take pictures. Like,
Yeah,
I don't take pictures of like moments with my children or whatever. I just don't. Why? Because it's not important to me to look back and be happy. It's important to me to be now happy, you know? So I would never look at me raising a trophy or me having a legacy people speak about as something. I mean, yeah, okay, your ego gets fed, right? Ego is nice. But in truth, it's just whatever, bro. I'll do it again. If not that, I'll do something else. People judge you by today's standards, not by yesterday's standards. That's the truth. Like Maradona, right? Most people will think of Maradona as a drug addict that somehow lost himself, and not as the fucking god of football, you know? And you can say that's sad. Well, is it? It's just the last thought people have of him, and you're only as good as your last uh, action, I guess you can say, which is also beautiful because that's what I told every single one of my teams every time. If they won, I'm like, okay, you won, fucking great, let's celebrate. But if tomorrow you lose, you're done. Like, people will hate you. But if you lose, there's always tomorrow. You know, you lose, there's tomorrow. If tomorrow you win, you're in again. You know, and the same applies to this. I don't think it's as important legacy. I just know in my head. I tell you already, and everybody knows, by the way, in the industry. Everybody knows. If this motherfucker comes back, whatever the role is he ever comes back in, all the competitors, I promise you, they're already shitting their pants without a glimpse of doubt. It doesn't matter what they think. It doesn't matter nothing. You know why? Because they know the truth, right? And that's what matters. That's what matters. And at the end, I see people face to face many times. Many of these people from esports, it happens sometimes, yeah. And they give me a handshake, a respect handshake, yeah. Even I don't know what the fuck they think about anything, yeah. But I feel the respect in their handshake, and I feel like when they look at me, they look at someone. Oh shit! Look at this guy, man. Look, okay, respect to him, you know. And that's the truth. At the end, these interactions and the perception people have uh, about you, not in a tweet, but in person, or when shit hits the fan. That's what I care about. Like what people really think about me, right? Like if somebody with this whole ordeal laughed at me on Twitter or whatever, and then they see me in person, and I think the chances that they will that I will sense respect from them are very high, actually, really very high. Maybe no different than someone who maybe hates Russia invading Ukraine, but if they see Putin, they would sense, I guess, and I'm not equating, I'm just saying, just putting an example. They maybe are, they respect, they respect the stance of the man. They respect maybe that he's like this, with his beliefs, even if maybe they don't agree. So yeah, I think that is true. I think both can be true. No regrets on destroying that legacy because people in reality know it.
You see that the thing that's hard to accept about that is the I think about myself and I think about the things I want, and I know everybody's different, but I think one of the things that is surely universal is we all, when we commit to an industry and we build something that we're passionate about, you want to be revered, respected, beloved. You want those things, and when you get them, there's no arguing about it. It does feel good, and yet you're saying you have no regrets and you don't care that the legacy might be tarnished a little bit over what is ultimately a very, in the grand scale of esports evils.
That's a very good
Yeah,
point. I mean, that's a very good point. I can't argue against that. But I guess, what would you? How would you react if a man comes to you and says, "Oh, I look up to you, man. I love everything you stand for." But then you're like, "Oh, nice. You feel very good about it, right?" But then you later learn that he's a pedophile, and then you later learn that this pedophile steals money from people as well. Now how do you feel about this guy looking up to you and agreeing with your beliefs or whatever? You wouldn't feel as good.
but
It doesn't matter how you what you say.
no,
It just wouldn't.
no.
Yeah. So I think a good this is a good example. Is a good example for me to make my point of um, the people that disregard my legacy are not people I respect anyway.
Hmm.
Those that do respect my legacy are people I tend to respect anyway. So yeah, I think it goes along the lines of, uh, I guess, valuing the opinion of those you value and valuing the opinion of those you don't value less.
Hmm.
Simple. So it doesn't affect me really as much as one might think. It really doesn't.
Was there not any person that ultimately turned on you during that time that you were disappointed about? I mean, there must have been,
Oh
you
yeah.
must have lost some friends.
Oh yeah, yeah. Of course, bro.
So can
Yeah,
you talk a little bit
hardcore.
about what the biggest disappointment would have been? What hurt you the most?
Yeah, man. I mean, basically, when things are happy and jumpy, everyone gives their best face. When things are when you're both thirsty and hungry, haven't eaten or drank for a few days, then you see the truth in people, right? And here, you didn't even see them exposed to hunger and thirst. You saw them exposed to the ability to get more power or more money, right? It's just a fucking joke, bro. It's literally breaking relationships for money or power, you know? Which, by the way, is retarded because if you're good at your job and Carlos is your CEO, you would want to try to make amends, to try to make things work. I mean, look at the shareholders of Activision Blizzard. This motherfucker, how long was there too long? You know, why was he there too long? Because maybe he hates the consumers, but trust me, the shareholders are very happy with him. You know, so of course they were trying to. Okay, he raped this guy. He raped that. Okay, please, it doesn't matter. You know, we we make amends. It's okay. You know, we can do some PR here and there and save his face for a few more years. More profits our way. Yeah. But yeah, it was very short sighted because the intention there was that my percentage of the company could be had for a penny on the dollar.
Yeah.
But then I fucked them.
How?
Yeah, and I'm too smart in business, man. I don't know how to explain everything. Everything from a player contract to a player transfer contract to the shareholders agreement to everything, bro. Every single fucking word, every single letter is crafted to protect me,
Hmm.
my business. Yeah, that's why, man. Many times you remember all this player transfer. Shenanigans, bro. I never lost in any of
No,
those.
I
I
know.
never lost in any of those because it's one guy versus 300 guys
Mm,
that have families and that rely on my payment every month. I'm not gonna fuck it up,
yeah.
and I'm the best at this. So it just I'm too intelligent for these business shenanigans. And yeah, at the end, nothing happened. So we say thank God.
I did notice in the answer you've shied away a little bit from talking about um, relationships and people that you were friends with that you're no longer friends with. I think that's probably deliberate because I know you like to keep your cards close to your chest. Is there any part of you that now, having had some time, can reflect a little bit and think to yourself, okay, I could have handled this better, and some people were maybe right to be critical of some of the things I did and said?
Yeah. I like to go through situations that are like relevant situations to see what I could have done better. That happens all the time. Something I learned as a player. It's a very good tool to grow, actually. Yeah, there were a couple of occasions that I would say that the excitement of saying my truth on Twitter got the better of me. But that even also happened during my career, like as CEO, as player before. Um, yeah, I'm a very exciting person, like very passionate. And when you're in the high, when you're riding the high, then you become an egomaniac with a keyboard. Can happen. So yeah, a couple of occasions that happened, but nothing that stacks out in my head. To be honest, I mean, and I think you know me, maybe not enough in life to know this, but it is like this. Maybe I'm angry in the moment, or maybe I'm passionate in the moment, but then I'm very cabal person. I'm very logical person, rational, and I'm human. So I sit down with you. It doesn't matter what happened. We can speak. I'm human. I understand it. And I think that again, it's not something that a good person normally says, but I think I'm a good person. I think I mean, I never look to steal from anybody. I never look to hurt somebody. I don't go out of my way to hurt somebody. Uh, and of course, I have my own agenda, like everybody else has. But I don't walk over corpses if I have to get my agenda done. There are some things that I mean, I have a level of integrity, yeah. And I realize that not everybody is like this, and some people will just walk over corpses if need be to get to what they want. Right? That's my learning from all of this, and that's why I said like my self respect has multiplied tenfold since that situation happened. I am way less open with people. I am way less. I'm way more cautious. I never give my face to anybody new. um, they have to prove to me that they have to slowly prove to me, as that relationship progresses. And yeah, I think in a way that's a bit sad, but at the same time, it's just the way the world works and the way the world always worked. The person that is way too friendly with everybody and is too open with everybody ends up getting the stick. I think that those that are more reserved and basically not speak less, but more reserved,
Mm.
tend to have less problems. So that's, I guess, my learning.
What a
Less friendships.
Yeah. I you know I think that there's a sadness in that, and we're getting to the end now, right? So I'm gonna ask you just a question here, and it's like, why not just come back? Why not just say, listen, I've got all this experience, all these positive attributes I can give to esports, and I made some mistakes. I aligned myself with people that now, in retrospect, with more information, I, you know, I don't agree with all of that. And I want to come back and make a positive contribution. And I hope people can be okay with that and show me the grace that an industry veteran like myself should deserve. Surely you could do that.
Yeah, there's 0% chance. I mean, for this specific situation like this, no way, because I wouldn't ever justify myself. I wouldn't ever walk back uh, from a genuine belief, which is that I genuinely did nothing wrong. I would never walk back from um, from any of it. Really, I would never walk back from it. And if I would ever come back, it would be, look, I am who I am. I'm not a perfect man, and I never claim to be. You know, and take it or leave it.
Mm.
Some fans will come because I'm back. Some fans will leave because I'm back, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles. You know, and that will be the way. If I ever return, that will be the way I return. Um, and I would not go through any fucking training or anything like this. I'm not gonna play to the flute of the overlords. It's never gonna happen. It's just never gonna happen.
So, is there what, if anything, do you think you could do in esports if you did want to live out that fantasy and come back to the industry?
Oh, bro. I mean, if I would take that decision right now,
Mm.
it would take me 3 months, 4 months to raise enough money to buy myself into anything. Like I'm telling you anything. When I say anything, is anything. A different esports team, the same esports team, a league, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It would take me 3 to 4 months to gather enough money, and not just money, but power to 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 just to show up again, and people will have to accept it because there is no alternative.
Yeah. But so what would you like to do? Is there anything you could conceive of you would do in
Man,
esports again?
I did what I man. Trust me when I say, in the world of esports, there is nothing I haven't done that I would like to do,
Hmm.
except maybe like rewards things like winning worlds,
Hmm.
right? But I played the journey. I got second. We played in the world championship in League of Legends, blah blah blah, right? So I did play the journey. So what I'm saying is about what's in my hands. There's nothing I haven't done that I would like to do in that industry. In a way, that makes it so. I mean, let's be honest, man. You were in the same rooms as I was. When I walk into a room in this industry, doesn't matter what I say. People are just gonna go with it because it's just okay. Maybe not you, okay, because
Well, yeah,
you have a spine, yeah.
yeah.
But bro, in that industry, it got to a point where I could not be wrong even if I was wrong because the room would agree with my call.
Yeah,
You understand?
sure. It's
And
very, very dangerous to be in an environment like that.
yeah, but I had to be self-critical myself, by the way. And anybody that works with me can tell you that I was critical of myself the most, even openly in company meetings. I would be like, guys, we got this player in League of Legends in the bot lane because of me. Okay, my mistake, 100% my mistake. I thought I could control, or I thought I could teach this person to be a team player. I thought I could, um, with the help of the coaching staff, make this work, and we didn't. Everybody talked to me against it, and I still did it. And it's my mistake. It's my responsibility. The competitive failure this year on this team is on me, and that is as fucking clear as you can make it. But at the same time, I don't know what the fucking point I was making before was, but yeah, basically
Well,
that I
it
was an
sounds like you wouldn't
evidence.
do
I was
anything
an
different. It's what he's essentially saying.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just I would do the same exact job, um, but I would have to add some spice to it. Like it would have to be. I would need to have such a ridiculous amount of money, which is very possible, that every team I put together is a mega fucking super team from day one, and fucking sponsors everywhere, and like, yeah, I mean, very very doable, to be honest. Again, this is in this life, money is the easiest thing to come across at this level. So it's just a matter of willingness to go through the hurdles,
Has
all the all the problems for a full month, all the PR, all the people talking, me, fucking Twitter roaring, uh, you know, even employees of these publishers and developers sending emails to their fucking executive team. I don't feel comfortable coming to the office anymore. This will happen, by the way.
Oh, sure.
Like if this, yeah, they don't feel comfortable coming to their offices in LA anymore because Carlos is bugging his fucking retards. Bunch of lunatics.
Sure.
Anyway,
I agree with you. I think that's an extreme overreaction. Sign of the times. Uh, did that not at any point make you feel a bit sad that someone would say that about you, though? You know, like if
I mean,
somebody
sure,
said, "I
bro.
don't
I mean,
feel
sure,
comfortable being around this guy anymore," like,
sure, bro. 100%. Actually, this is one of the things that really made me the saddest because never in my life, brother, anybody can say, woman or man, they felt uncomfortable around me. Never, bro. I'm like the easiest dude to be with. If you commit a mistake, of course, I'm gonna tell you you committed the mistake, and I'm very harsh on my employees when it comes down to performance, and I judge their performance very harshly. I judge their attitude problems very harshly. The same way I judge my performance and attitude problems very harshly, openly in front of them, to make an example. But never in my life at a human level can anybody say whatever, whatever horror story you can imagine or think of. So yeah, that was a bit shit. But like you said, it's a byproduct of the times we live in. And if you think about it as well, there are weak people in their mind, and I don't say that despectfully. Despectfully, is that a word? Uh, I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that as a matter of fact, they're just weak in their mind, so they need others' approval and others' attention to feel validated. And I understand now how many times um, people that took that stance of I don't feel comfortable with this guy or something like this did so as means to, I guess, get people's approval and people's acceptance and society, like to be more included in society in a way, So it's sad more for them than for me, but I understand that now, not then. Then it was a bit shit. Not gonna lie, that part specifically was a bit shit because it never. I mean, no woman or it's just not possible. I would never. So yeah.
um, just one last thing, just before we wrap up. Um,
Which, by the way,
mm,
Richard,
mm,
17 years in this industry, 18 years or something like this.
yeah.
Okay. Uh, what happened was the perfect storm for any bullshit in the past to come
Of
out.
course.
You
Yeah.
understand? Like any sexual blah blah or inappropriate blah blah, whatever you want to name it, to come out. Okay. 17 or 18 years is a lot of fucking time, especially with how young I was for a big portion of that time. All I'm going to say without saying any names is that if you take 90% of the industry people and you put them through the same lens where they are judged on where the doors are open to all of a sudden judge them for the last 17, 18 years, the amount of corpses, brother,
Oh, I know.
that would come out would be so
Yeah.
ludicrous. People would be in shock,
Yeah. Oh, sure.
So I am not saying this as as a way to defend myself, but as a way to explain to people instead how this industry in particular is just full of fucking weirdos.
Oh,
That
100%.
is just full of fucking weirdos that are hypocritical as they can be with their beliefs.
I mean, there's a term in that you use kind of in journalism. It's kind of like it's called monstering, and it's where you constantly hit people with reports about things that they've done, and you greatly exaggerate the kind of impact of what it is they've done. You frame it in the most uncharitable light possible, because ultimately that's the narrative influence you're attempting to go for. And I think that absolutely happened to you in the first instance. I 100%. I think that is one of the strangest scandals I've ever seen. And just because Andrew,
It was fucking weird,
yeah,
right? Like it
oh
really
sure,
felt so strange, bro.
yeah,
It
yeah,
actually, even right now, it feels strange. I still, even though I understand why it happened, I still feel like it's just, it's almost like a bad dream, like one of these 40 degrees fever
yeah.
dreams. It like make no sense. Like what the fuck made it explode like this? Maybe it was just the perfect storm of exactly the
It
time
was,
he was,
yeah.
in the middle of the eye.
Correct. Yep.
Maybe it was just the perfect storm, right?
I mean, yeah, it was.
But otherwise, it's just weird as shit, bro.
Ultimately, if you look at the pieces on the board, you've got G2, hugely popular organization, known for being edgy, probably upset lots of multiple fan bases all around the world with tweets when they've won, or
Yes, that's a good
right.
point. That's a very
So
good
you have
point.
that. You have a boardroom within G2 of people that ultimately want more percentage, more power, more control of a brand that's hugely lucrative and valuable. You have
Good point.
an arrogant, flamboyant CEO who has been a lightning rod and public
Muscular. You
face of
forgot muscular.
well,
If you're gonna say adjectives,
okay, yeah, okay, muscular too. I can tell from some of the answers you like your strong men. You're someone who's obviously pissed off hundreds of people, thousands. Name that. And then finally, you have Andrew Tate, who just happened to be at that moment in time reviled because of the comments. He said it was a time when people were digging up clips from podcasts, and even before.
and on top of this, it was probably. I would like to. I really would like to say, it was probably in terms of societal impact, the wokest society has been, because since then there has
Sure.
been a pushback. I would say it was probably the wokest society has been.
Yeah, I definitely think I never really like the term woke because it's kind of a
Yeah,
bit nebulous, but I know what
yeah,
you
yeah.
mean. I know
You're
what
right.
you
You're
mean. Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like the outrage
Yeah,
for
outrage culture.
politically
Yes,
incorrect things.
yes.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. And this is what I mean. I think it's a perfect storm, but I will also add super avoidable for it to have escalated the way it did.
Oh, bro, of
All
course,
you,
100%,
all you have,
100%.
like, I just
Bro, 100%. Like I know I could have gotten out of it
fake
how
apology,
do you call it?
whatever it might have been.
Yeah, bro, fake apology. I say like it's very important to me to keep this company and everybody in it
I
safe
wasn't
and blah
aware of
blah.
Andrew Tate's
I
past
wasn't,
comments. I have now donated
bro.
$10,000 to a woman's charity.
Yeah,
That's it. You walk away
one
from it.
hundred
It
percent,
fucking annoys me
one
that you
hundred
didn't
percent.
do that. It really does.
Oh, bro, because I have a spine, brother.
Yeah, but sometimes you started boxing now. Sometimes you have to box clever, mate. You have to duck and weave.
Yes, but
You
I'm
know.
I'm I'm not that kind. I will get in and out of the pocket, maybe at the wrong time.
Bro, yes, you got fucking flawed, mate. You lent in when you should have fucking bobbed. And
It's also by the way the way I box. I get way too much into the box. I don't care getting hit.
mm,
So yeah, it's just, yeah, everything is consistent.
I mean, yeah, well, if you're one of those boxers that takes 3 punches to land one punch, you're gonna end up with CTE.
Okay,
So be
maybe
careful.
maybe I do take two jabs to land one good overhead, or maybe I take two jabs to land one hook.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm one of those, but it's not bad. Okay, it's
It's
not
all
bad.
right. It worked for Riddick Bowe, I suppose. So,
Yeah, there you go.
anyway, look, I'm gonna just wrap up what I want to say at the end, right? And obviously, if there's anything else you want to add, we can keep going as long as you want. But this is something that I wanted to say to you. I know you know this. There's a reason that I've never. I wouldn't. There's behavior you could engage in where I would denounce you. I guess obviously there's things you could do. I I,
Normal.
I don't think you've done anything irredeemable. I wish you would stop trying to be an edge lord. I don't think it's helpful to tweets with the N word in, because if I was a black esports fan and I was getting into esports and I wanted to learn about who Carlos Ocelot was, And went,
That's a bad entry point. I will
yeah,
agree.
well, it's very unwelcoming. It's hostile language in the same way that as a Spaniard, I'm sure you know there's racial epithets you wouldn't particularly like if I were to use them. And it's like I keep talking about the Carlos I know, and I know you're still him. I don't think you've materially changed your personality. I think what's happened to you is what happened to lots of people, that you had a cascading domino effect of terrible things happening in your life all at once. And even for someone as capable as you felt overwhelmed and you didn't know what to do. And in that moment when it was happening, you you needed to go away, but and just be out of the spotlight, but ego, whatever it was, wouldn't let you do that. And you wanted to show the world, like, listen, I'm not in pain, I'm not hurt, you can't hurt me, I'm fucking invincible. And I think that was your undoing, essentially, when a little bit of contrition, a little bit of vulnerability, a little bit of true earnestness would have gone a long way. And I want to tell a story, and this is why I talk about Carlos, the Carlos I know, the good man, right? That you are. There was a long time ago. Obviously, I used to live with Maria, who's sadly no longer with us, and she was thinking about what to do next in her career as her playing opportunities were coming to an end. And she wanted to start her own esports organization. She asked me, for ideas and thoughts about it. And I said, well, listen, I know lots of people in the industry, but who better to talk to about making a former player esports organization than Ocelot? He's the fucking best, right? And she said to me, "Yeah, but he's not going to talk to me." So I'll ask him. And I asked you, and you did it, and she was blown away. You spent like 2 hours or something talking to her on a call, giving her advice, giving her tips, and it made me the king of the house because it showed how well connected and respected I was. And it made her feel valued and important. And as somebody that was in a marginalized group, you can't buy that. And you gave her that gift just generously out of your own time. And now you publicly say things that make it sound like you're the type of person that wouldn't do that. And that's what I mean when I say I want you to come back to the world, man. Like, you
Look,
don't
man,
need to be that guy, because I know who you are.
the problem here, there's a big problem here, is that there's like a what's the game with the rope that two teams are putting against each other in the
Oh
rope,
yeah,
like
tug
a
of
tug,
war they call it.
yeah, tug of
Mm.
war, right? It's tug of war. um, Constant tug of war on every single word said online, and unfortunately there's only two sides. This is just the way artificially they made us think. We are two kinds of people, and the inside of me, most important is to feel free, really. And if I don't feel free, like if I feel like I have like somebody's trying to do like this, like bro, I will explode, and I will explode whatever way. And the way in which I explode when I feel like there's that tug of war where I have like 20 people on the other side of the rope is I go extra as I can humanly be to help that rope go my way. And it's a defense mechanism to um, sort of counter that what I consider to be fucking evil behavior. And yeah, sometimes in that process, there's stuff I wouldn't tweet. It's just what it is. Um, I think as years go by, I'm becoming more and more relaxed, and I don't feel like I need to have an opinion about everything, even if I had an opinion. I feel like I'm just accepting the reality that I don't have to convince anybody of my ways, and instead I just need to continue making my circle. Actually, that's why it was called the circle. My circle. um, educate them as much as I can. And whoever is not in my circle and believes the very opposite, then power to them. So I think that as years go by and I become more relaxed, I think that it's only natural that it's going to be less and less dramatic outbursts like this. But yeah, at the end, the human. I don't think you can change human. I really don't think you can change human. I think I do think bad people are bad people, and I do think that it's very hard for bad people to become good people. Maybe they can somehow learn that what they're doing is bad, but I think they eventually go back to their roots. I really believe that. So maybe you can improve, but not really change completely. I believe that, and I've always been I've always been good person with people, and that has not changed and will not change. And whether I tell you, like, yeah, I generalize with race, I generalize with everything because this is the way I am. But that doesn't mean that all of a sudden I meet somebody from a group and automatically don't respect them or something like this. No, I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I give everybody the benefit of being judged on their own actions and doings. And only before I interact with them, only before I get to work with them, or only before, when I feel the need to make a fast, quick decision, I go into generalizations. But otherwise, I will always treat, if I have a conversation with you, doesn't matter how you are, I will always treat you with the respect you deserve in that interaction.
Yeah. So ultimately, what I would say is, I think there are these unnecessary affectations that you've like adopted, and you don't need these things. I think it's like at this stage, particularly in your career and where you are in life, you don't need that profile. Ultimately to say these things.
Yeah,
They're of little value and they're detrimental to you. And I would hope moving forward, just be speaking as a friend, just be mindful about not only what you consume. You're talking about biohacking. Think about biohacking for the brain with your social media and news consumption, but all,
yeah, yeah. Not wrong, not wrong at all.
but also what you
It's easier
share
said
is
than done. But
very important to people, because as you said, a lot of people look up to you, man. They respect you, and what you say has an impact on their lives. It's the downside to being a public figure, when you can't have it both ways. If you're important, then what you say matters and how you behave matters. There is a mantle that comes with being as successful as you are.
it's true. Completely in agreement.
Mm.
Completely in agreement, bro.
Well, I'm glad. I look. The thing that I'm happy about is you do seem to be in a better place psychologically. I think you sound happier. You look
I'm
happier. You look
I'm
healthier.
good. I'm good, bro. I'm good.
Yeah, yeah.
Really, very good, bro. Like I say the hand in my heart. Like everywhere I look in my life is extraordinary. I speak with my parents every day. My relationship with my brother is amazing. Um, I have very few friends, but very very good friends. Um, love life, it's 10 out of 10. Family, really 10 out of 10. Career, um, uh, everything related to career and work and money making and feeling good about doing so, and the impact in the world that work has. Again, 10 out of 10. And then self development. I mean, I spend a lot of time on myself in every way, and as a spiritual, more spiritual than ever been. Work on my body more than I've ever been able to, and same goes for the mind. So at the end, really, there's nothing, there's nowhere I look and say, yeah, I was better off 3 years ago. Quite the opposite.
Mm. So final thought. I mean, it sounds like you're not coming back to esports anytime soon.
Not anytime soon, but I think that I'm spontaneous enough to make it a maybe in some capacity, that it will not be mediocre
Mm.
capacity. It will be like I'm talking retarded fireworks capacity.
Okay. What are you doing? I mean, other than just hanging out and chilling. If, let's say, somebody was like, you know what, I do want to support Carlos and follow what he's doing. I mean, other than tweeting, what have you got going on?
It's okay. Just I don't need to let people know what I'm doing. Whoever is interested enough can ask me in DMs, and I answer most of the DMs, because I'm not as relevant as before in terms of public figure. So I have a lot more time to answer, and yeah, I'm happy to answer to whoever asks. But there's no need.
Okay. Well, brother, I'm glad we got time to sit down and talk. And I meant everything I said. You know, like I honestly, I like know who you are. There's never going to be any public pressure that's ever going to change that perception. I just hope that more people can, as I said, be forgiving of the things that you do deserve forgiveness for, and ultimately realize that the contribution you made to our industry is insurmountable. That the
Yeah,
good
but look,
outweighs the
both can
bad.
be true.
Sure.
I think the best way is for people to judge me fairly.
Hmm.
If they disagree with shit I say or whatever, that's okay. We can have different worldviews, and that's completely fine. And at the same time, acknowledge that there has never been a greater um, executive in the world of esports, nor will ever be, in my opinion. Both can be true.
There you go. I think that's a great point to end on. Thanks a lot for, as always, being gracious with your time. And that's the end of the Richard Lewis Show episode with Carlos. I don't know when I'll be doing one of these again. I've got some guests lined up for after Katowice in the Counter Strike. So make sure you like and subscribe and share this. And I will see you next time.